Class time, class time. Welcome to the Mill Plain United Methodist Church Nursery and Stories for Teacher Diane. And this is Teacher Ruth Ann. She's not able to be here this time, but I'm sure she's thinking of you guys. And today we'll be learning about a story in the Sparks Story Bible. The story we're learning about today is Daniel and the Lions. And the next thing we're going to be learning about, well, we'll have a story which is called Library Lion, and this is the cover. Now that's kind of an awful cover, and you might wonder, why did you pick that story? Well, I actually found this at a Goodwill, and I just tend to open up stories and storybooks, and I just love the story. And this is the inside, so you're getting more of an idea. And this book was written by Michelle Knudsen and illustrated by Kevin Hawkes. And it's a little bit of a longer story, but I think it's awesome. And one of the reasons that I tell you the names of the authors and the illustrators is so that next time, if you decide, hey, I really love that story, Library Lion, then maybe I will look up the author of that and just say if they, had anything else. Maybe I love the illustrations, I love the pictures, and I want to see more books with those great pictures. And the last thing is I have one more poem for you from Beastly Feasts. That's poetry. Cool. Oh, and not to forget, there's also a video that I'm including, and it's the garden, and it's my garden, and it's about tomatoes and potatoes, actually. It's about potatoes and how they grow, and how sometimes you think that they're done with. You look, you don't see any potato at all, but they're growing underground. So it's like their secret. And then you see the plant, it's dead, and then you dig underground, and then you get marvelous potatoes. So we'll start with our ABCs, and first we'll talk about them a little bit like we always do. So just randomly pick a letter. Let's see, there's an N, and that could be for Nathan. And let's see, here's a K, that could be for Catherine. And a K kind of sounds like a C sometimes. C could be for Chloe. Chloe and Catherine, they sound the same. Different letters though, yep. And then a B for Brooks. And let's see, we can find, over here there's an R. Now the R, that could be for Teacher Ruth Ann. But it also could be for Reed. That's another name. So, and we have a T, that could be for Theo. It could be for Timothy. Lots of names with T's. And M for Marilyn. I think I said that. Okay, anyway, we'll sing ABCs. Are you ready? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now I know my ABCs. Next time, won't you sing with me? Good job, guys. Excellent. And now it's time to sing Jesus Loves Me, but I would like to bring a friend with me once again. It is the elephant from the nursery. Hello, hello, hello. And I think this time he's whispered a secret in my ear. He's talking to me. What's he saying? He's saying his name's Peanut. Peanut the elephant. Is that who you are? Yes, that's who you are. Excellent. All right, so myself and Peanut the elephant are going to sing Jesus Loves Me, and we'd love for you to join us. Are you ready? Ooh. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong. They are weak, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loves me. The Bible tells me so. Good job. Nice job. Thank you. Peanut. There's Peanut. Daniel and the lions. Daniel loved God. He prayed every day and tried to live as God told him to. Daniel knew, though, no matter what, God was always with him. Daniel's good friend, King Darius, put Daniel in charge of many things in his kingdom. Some men got very jealous of Daniel and decided to get him in trouble. Ha ha ha, they thought, we'll get Daniel yet. The men tricked King into making a law that everyone had to pray to King Darius and not God. Anyone who broke this law would be placed in a den full of lions. Yikes! Daniel was very afraid of lions, but he prayed to God anyway. Daniel knew that he could get into big trouble. He also knew God would always be with him. Trouble came quickly. The men who tricked King Darius saw Daniel praying. Aha, they said, we've got him now. He won't be able to be the king's favorite. They went to tell the king. King Darius, Daniel's praying to his God instead of you. King Darius looked puzzled. Daniel was always praying to his God. What was the big deal? Then the men reminded him, you must put Daniel into the lions' dens. You made it a law, remember? They don't look very nice. Oh no, King Darius didn't want to put Daniel in the lion's den. He didn't want Daniel to be hurt. But King Darius had to follow his own law. Daniel was put in with the lions. King Darius said, I hope your God helps you. He went home and stayed awake all night worrying about Daniel. In the lion's den, it was dark and scary. Lions growled all around Daniel. Daniel prayed, God, I know you are with me. Please help me. God was with Daniel. There he is. At sunrise, King Darius hurried to the lion's den and had it opened. Daniel, he called, are you there? Did your God save you? Daniel answered, I'm here. God kept the lions from hurting me. God always keeps me safe. King Darius was overjoyed to see his friend. From that day on, King Darius believed in God. So we talked about Daniel and the lion and how he always had faith in God, that God would be with him. And sometimes you have faith in other things too. We have faith in our gardens when we plant a tulip in the fall to watch it come out in the spring. And right now there's lots of bulbs in the stores ready to be planted, and you're just hoping with some rain, the right amount of sun, and with God's help that we will get blooms, beautiful blooms. And so one of the things that I have planted was potatoes, and there was also a volunteer potato, and I'll tell you about that. And I just want to show you that what we did with it at the end, after I got the potatoes pulled out, this is what it looked like for a dish that I made. Because my potatoes are purple, and so it was quite beautiful. That's before it was cooked. It was very tasty afterwards. So enjoy. Now this is a potato that is a volunteer, which means that I did not plant it. I grew potatoes last year and it came up all by itself, and you can see that it's starting to die. Now these potatoes are dead. You can see the plants are just shriveled up could actually dug them up a little while ago, but no flowers, no leaves. They are done. So let's see what's underneath the dirt. And when I start digging them up, this is what we have. We have these beautiful purple potatoes. And they're very tasty. And you dig up the ground, and there they are. Oh, I can see another one. And there it is, right underneath the ground. And this is the second batch of potatoes that I have. And you can see they're very lovely colored, and they're going to taste just delicious. And this is the book, Library Lion, illustrated by Kevin Hawkes. I will show you another picture. I think it's pretty cool. Look at that cat. He doesn't seem happy. The cover of this one was kind of wrecked, but I really like the story. So here you go. One day, a lion came to the library. He walked right past the circulation desk and up to the stacks, which is where they kept the books. Mr. McBee ran down the hall to the head librarian's office. "Miss Merriweather," he called. "No running," said Miss Merriweather, without looking up. "But there's a lion," said Mr. McBee, "in the library." "Is he breaking any rules?" asked Miss Merriweather. She was very particular about rule breaking. "Well, no," said Mr. McBee. "Not really." "Then leave him be." The lion wandered all around the library. He sniffed the card catalog. He rubbed his head against the new book collection. Then he padded over to the story corner and went to sleep. Not sure what to do. No one knew. There weren't any rules about lions in the library. Soon it was time for story hour. There weren't any rules about lions in story hour either. The story lady seemed a little nervous, but she read out the first book's title in good, clear voice. The lion looked up. The story lady kept reading. The lion stayed for the next story, and the story after that. And he waited for another story, but the children began to walk away. "Story hour is over," a little girl told him. "Time to go." The lion looked at the children. He looked at the story lady. He looked at the closed books, and then he roared very loud. "Roar!" Miss Merriweather came striding out of her office. "Who is making that noise?" she demanded. "It's the lion," said Mr. McBee. Miss Merriweather marched over to the lion. If you cannot be quiet, you will have to leave," she said in a stern voice. "Those are the rules." The lion kept roaring. He sounded sad. A little girl tugged on Miss Merriweather's dress. "If he promises to be quiet, can he come back for story hour tomorrow?" she asked. The lion stopped roaring. He looked at Miss Merriweather. Miss Merriweather looked back. Then she said, "Yes, a nice quiet lion would certainly be allowed to come back for story hour tomorrow." "Hooray!" said the children. The next day the lion came back. "You're early," said Miss Merriweather. "Story hour is not until 3 o'clock." The lion did not budge. "Very well," said Miss Merriweather. "You might as well make yourself useful." She sent him off to dust the top of the encyclopedias until it was time for story hour. The next day, the lion came early again. This time, Miss Merriweather asked him to lick all the envelopes for the overdue notices. Soon the lion began doing things without being asked. He dusted the encyclopedias, he licked the envelopes, he let small children stand on his back to reach books on the highest shelves, and then he curled up in the story corner to wait for story hour to begin. At first, the people in the library were nervous about the lion, but soon they got used to having him around. In fact, he seemed very well suited for the library. His big feet were quiet on the library floor. He made a comfy backrest for the children at story hour, and he never roared in the library anymore. "What a helpful lion," people said. They patted his soft head as he walked by. How did we ever get along without him? Mr. McBee scowled when he heard that. They had always gotten along fine before. No lions were needed. Lions, he thought, could not understand rules. They did not belong in the library. One day, after he had dusted all the encyclopedias and licked all the envelopes and helped all the small children, the lion pattered down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office to see what else there was to do. There was still some time left before story hour. "Hello, Lion," said Miss Merriweather. "I know you can do something. You can bring a book back to the stacks for me. Just let me get it down from the shelf." Miss Merriweather stepped up onto the step stool. The books were just out of reach. She stood on her toes and she stretched out her fingers. "Almost there," she said. And then Miss Merriweather stretched a little too far. "Ouch!" Miss Merriweather said softly. She did not get up. "Mr. McBee!" she called after a minute. "Mr. McBee!" But Mr. McBee was at the circulation desk. He could not hear her calling. "Lion," Miss Merriweather said, "please go get Mr. McBee." The lion ran down the hall. "No running," Miss Merriweather called after him. He put his big front paws up on the circulation desk and looked at Mr. McBee. "Go away, Lion," Mr. McBee said. "I'm busy." The lion whined. He pointed his nose down toward Miss Merriweather's office. Mr. McBee ignored him. Finally, the lion did the only thing that he could think of to do. He looked at Mr. McBee right in the eye, and then he opened up his mouth very wide, and he roared the loudest roar he ever roared in his life. Roar! Mr. McBee gasped. "You're not being quiet," he said to the lion. "You're breaking the rules." Mr. McBee walked down the hall as fast as he could. The lion did not follow him. He had broken the rules. He knew what that meant. He hung his head and walked toward the doors. Mr. McBee did not notice. "Miss Merriweather," he walked in. "Miss Merriweather, the lion broke the rules. The lion broke the rules." He burst into Miss Merriweather's office. She was not in her chair. "Miss Merriweather?" he asked. "Sometimes," Miss Merriweather said from the floor, "there's a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. Now please go call a doctor. I think I've broken my arm." Mr. McBee ran to call a doctor. "No running," said Miss Merriweather, calling after him. The next day, things were back to normal, almost. Miss Merriweather's left arm was in a cast. The doctor told him not to work too hard. "I will have my lion help me," Miss Merriweather thought. But the lion did not come to the library that morning. At 3 o'clock, Miss Merriweather walked over to the story corner. The story lady was just beginning to tell the story for the children, but the lion was not there. People in the library kept looking up from their books and computer screens, hoping they would see the familiar furry face. But the lion did not come that day. The lion did not come the next day either, or the day after that. One evening, Mr. McBee stopped by Miss Merriweather's office on his way out. "Can I do anything for you before I go, Miss Merriweather?" he asked her. "No, thank you," said Miss Merriweather. She was looking out the window. Her voice was very quiet, even for the library. Mr. McBee frowned as he walked away. He thought there probably was something he could do for Miss Merriweather after all. Mr. McBee left the library, but he did not go home. He walked around the neighborhood. He looked under cars. He looked behind bushes. He looked in backyards and trash cans and tree houses. Finally, he circled all the way back to the library. The lion was sitting outside, looking in through the glass doors. "Hello, Lion," said Mr. McBee. The lion did not turn around. "I thought you might like to know," said Mr. McBee, "that there's a new rule at the library. No roaring aloud unless you have a very good reason. Say, if you're trying to help a friend who's been hurt, for example." The lion's ears twitched. He turned around, but Mr. McBee was already walking away. The next day, Mr. McBee walked down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office. "What is it, Mr. McBee?" asked Miss Merriweather in her new, sad, quiet voice. "I thought you might like to know," said Mr. McBee. "There's a lion in the library." Miss Merriweather jumped up from her chair and ran down the hall. "No running," smiled Mr. McBee. He called out after her. Miss Merriweather didn't listen. Sometimes there's a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. And that's the end. Beastly Feasts, a mischievous menagerie in rhyme. A peculiar pair. The early bird and the night owl are a peculiar pair. It may seem odd their marriage works, since both are rarely there. His nocturnal job is catching food until the dark's near gone. Done, he sweeps and swoops his way back home on the rosy rays of dawn. So he tugs his jammies on and trundles into bed, just as she's getting up to plan the day ahead. She catches worms to feed the kids and sends them off to school, then dusts and cleans and mops and mends until the evening's cool. He wakes anew and joins her in the twilight softening hour. They talk and listen, sharing thoughts, snug in their treetop bower. Then he's away and she's to bed. I wonder, please, now you've heard, aren't they peculiar, as I've said? The night owl and the early bird. Well, I hope you enjoyed all the stories and the video for this week, and for myself and Teacher Ruth Ann. We want to wish you a very enjoyable week. Stay safe and have a good day.